Hello, YouTube. I hope you are having a fabulous Sunday. I hope everyone has. One thing I love about the weekend, I love like waking up late and being refreshed and renewed. And I'm so happy that spring is coming. The weather's getting warmer, and yeah, you know. Today, I wanted to talk about divorce. Yes. The reason why I wanted to talk about divorce and single motherhood because it's about women empowerment and women making their own choices. And a lot of the times, certain things, even in 2025, people will say, I just wanted to talk about the different cultures briefly. So I learned recently, maybe 2, 3 years ago, while watching Paternity Court, which is a TV show that used to come on with women that were unsure of who fathered their children. And it was quite interesting. There was a couple of cases of Muslim women in particular that had multiple children out of wedlock, that were single parents. And it was a shock to me because they always put down Black American women. And at the end of the day, we make choices. We don't force ourselves to be with somebody because we have a child with them. We make our own decisions and we do what we want to do. And I love that for us as American women, specifically Black American women. And even white American women. A lot of them get married for socioeconomic purposes. Sometimes it's love, sometimes it's not. But they have a very high divorce rate. But a lot of people want to shame people who get divorced, and it's like at the end of the day, people are not going to stick around for stupidity and for things that they don't need. Most people who stay married and they're unhappy is because, let's keep it real, it's cheaper to keep her. When you get divorced, naturally, it's you're basically saying that you're able to take care of yourself, or that the man is able to take care of you, and you're no longer together. Obviously, if you get divorced, it's going to be separate apartments, separate houses, separate things. And some people cannot afford that, so they just stay together. And I be damned if you have people that's not even married, but they're forced into an apartment and they live together because they have nowhere else to go. And in America, that doesn't make any sense to me. That is like the saddest thing that a woman could do to herself. And I wanted to let anybody know out there that if you want to get divorced or you're in an unhappy relationship, please get out, because you only have one life to live. And especially if you have children, those children will resent you for not leaving. They will. And Dr. Phil said it best: a child would rather be from a single parent home in peace with no arguing than to you stuck with somebody because you going by religion or finances. It's terrible. It's terrible. But also, briefly, there used to be a time when you could not get divorced, and I can't imagine that. And it's all about control. That's what it boils down to. Because like I said, in the Bible days and post-Bible days, most women that got married, it was not because of love. It was not. It was because of control. And if a man seen you walking down the street and he wanted to be with you, all he had to do was tell your father, and if he could afford to pay your father, then you was his wife. Very terrible. Very terrible. And so I just wanted to talk about that. For people that's Christian or you're interested in the Bible, I'm going to briefly talk about that as well. I actually was doing some research, looking up scriptures. Most people say grounds for divorce according to the Bible, which obviously we can't go by that now because there's a lot of things in there that's not practical. Let's keep it real. It was written by human beings, and there's a lot of flaws in there. Now, the Bible is good. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of good scriptures in there. There's a lot of positive things. You got the book of Psalms, the book of Proverbs. However, the Bible, I wanted to point this out, says nothing about somebody being abusive to you. That's a lie that's going around. They're saying that If you're being abused, the Bible says you can get divorced. There is no scripture in the Bible, and I researched it. There is no scripture in the Bible that says that you could get divorced if you get abused. But common sense, right? Do you think God wants to keep you in bondage and in an abusive relationship? No. Obviously, you should go. So certain things the Bible doesn't have to say for you to know that it's time to get up and go. Also, you have people who think it's a sin to get a divorce. No, it's not. And even if, let's say, hypothetically, if it said that, obviously, do you think God, the God that you serve, he's going to want you in an unhappy, unhealthy situation? No. Okay. So the Bible does say that if you commit adultery, or if the woman commits adultery, the man, yes, he could file for divorce. Another reason you could get divorced, according to the Bible, is if your spouse disappears, like if they're not there, if they're not around, if they just up and left, then yes, that is grounds for divorce. So that was very popular back in the day. A lot of men did a lot of disappearing acts, and they would make other families around the town or around the city, state, whatever. And yes, that is grounds for divorce. Adultery, and they're just simply not there. The person, you're in Florida, and the person up and left you, you don't know where they are, and they went to New York. Yes, that is grounds for divorce, obviously, because they're not there. Obviously, they're telling you that they don't want to be married to you. That's kind of common sense. So yes, you could file for divorce under the biblical law. It also says in the Bible, if the person is especially if the person is a non-believer, the person's a non-believer and they disappear and they're not there, yes, you could file for divorce and remarry, right? So there is a scripture that says that you're not supposed to get remarried, that God doesn't like that. And if you remarry, you commit adultery. So it's not just a biblical thing. In 2025, people think that. You have a lot of people that say, well, if I get divorced, I'm not getting remarried, right? And oftentimes people are afraid to date people that were previously married because it comes with a lot of drama sometimes. It does. So not saying that you can't be happy, but in some cases it's kind of, even when a person is separated for years, it still might be drama. I would say listen to your gut. I'm not going to say don't do it. But you just gotta follow your gut. If you are a single woman like myself and you've never been married, naturally you want to be with a man that's never been married. It's only right. You don't want to be with somebody that has baggage if you don't have baggage. You know what I'm saying? They say, oh, everybody has baggage. No, I do not have baggage, so therefore I do not want to be with a man who has baggage. So in this point in my life, I do choose to be single. I'm not saying this because I am a YouTuber. I'm just saying this for myself, that I am way better off by myself than I am with someone. And for me to be with someone at this point in my life, you have to have your stuff together. I am not dealing with a boy. I'm not dealing with a man-child. I refuse to deal with a man that's still involved with his ex, that doesn't know his left from his right, that's not healed, that's not God-fearing. Like, there's a lot of things I'm not going to deal with. So I understand what comes with the territory is being alone. Not lonely, because lonely is a state of mind. You could be in a relationship, there's a lot of people that's married and they are very lonely. So it's all about the state of mind. One thing I taught myself is, if you depend on a human being to make you fulfilled, you will forever be lonely. And that's the truth, because people are human. They're not going to always be there for you when you need them to. So you got to find other things that make you happy and be happy within yourself, because that person may be a great spouse, may be a great partner, and they up and die. Then what? Or they might say, you know what, I don't want to be with you anymore. Or, anything can happen, and you have to find yourself. You have to be happy within yourself, and that's key. I think that's so important. But there was a time when women could not, and I had this on a laptop. My laptop was acting up, so frustrating. But basically, in the 19th century is when they started allowing divorce, and women were only able to get property after the husband passed away. So again, that's a form of control. Also in the Jewish culture, and I looked this up, I made sure I heard it, but I researched it to make sure it's correct. When you are Jewish and whatever, only the man could divorce you, which is another form of control. Because obviously if I'm a woman and I'm not happy, because let's keep it real, most people, and when I say most people, I want to say not just people that I know, but most people, when they get divorced, it's similar to getting an abortion. It's not something you want to do, but it has to be done. You know, you're getting a divorce for a very good reason. This person is not a good person. A lot of people change over the years. Sometimes you have a situation where he may not hit you or cheat on you, but he loses his job, he loses his ambition, doesn't want to work, and now you have to pay all the bills. That's very frustrating. He doesn't want to help in the household. He doesn't want to help you. I know one girl who I went to church with her, and she got divorced very quickly. And she said she filed for divorce because he did not want to help her with their son. He worked and she worked as well, but she was like, she did not want to deal with that. She's like, it's unfair. She's like, you know, my mom and my sister and everybody's helping me except for him, except for the man who I live with. And so I didn't blame her. I was like, I feel like with me, I probably would have did the same thing. Like, you're not helping me, so why are we married? You know, which is true. Why you don't get married to be single, to be a single mom? This it doesn't make sense. She was like, he would get off of work early and he wouldn't even want to pick the baby up from daycare. She was like, she got mad, she got frustrated. She was like, you know, I couldn't do it no more. And she got remarried many years later. But you as a woman, you know what you can handle, right? Everybody's different. You know, you can't shame somebody for getting, I know another woman, she got divorced because he was abusing her, right? She's not a religious person, she's not a Christian or nothing, but I think if you're getting physically abused, you should get divorced. There's no scriptures to back it up, but common sense. If this man is beating you and then he put hands on her sister too, you can't have that, because you know, health is wealth and your safety comes first. So somebody's putting hands on you, obviously you should exit left, right? It never said that it was a sin to get divorced. That's another thing I wanted to point out. Like, if you're gonna go by the Bible or religion, it said that God doesn't like divorce. That's what it said. And it said if you get remarried, you committed adultery, right? But it never said that it's a sin to get divorced. It never said that. It just said God doesn't like divorce. Okay? So that's the misconception that people have. Again, it's all about control, because for centuries and thousands of years, marriage benefited the man. It did. It did. Right? So what better way to control people than to say, oh, by the way, you can't leave, because, and then you want to put religion into it. Oh, God doesn't want us to live in bondage. God doesn't want to, you know, you arguing every day, you can't stand the person, you wish death on them, the person wishing death on you, you know, separate rooms, you just hate each other, you don't support each other, you can't even go to church together, you can't do anything together. They have something called inconceivable, something differences. You just have differences. Sometimes it be like that. Sometimes the person is not abusing you. They may not be cheating, but y'all just don't get along. Yeah. Two cannot work together unless they agree. So if you're an outgoing person, and that's another, my old coworker, I only worked at, it was a school I worked at in the Bronx one day, and it was so far I never went back. But the teacher said it, she was talking about her divorce to me, And she just was venting, and she was like, if you get married, make sure you have things in common. She was like how they didn't have anything in common. Like, she likes to go out, she likes to party, he would stay home. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you respect each other's space. He wasn't respecting it. He would blow up her phone, he would criticize her for going out. And I know people like that they don't go out and then they criticize people who do. Mind your business. Like, everybody's not a homebody like you. For me personally, I feel like it should be a balance. I don't think, like, for me personally, I cannot be with somebody that's in the clubs every single weekend. I'm just not doing that. I don't feel like, even when I was in my 20s, I would be in the clubs every other weekend. Not just because I had a son, but I don't think you should be in the clubs every weekend. Then you got some people that's in the clubs every night. We not going to get along. That's not. And a lot of people who's in the clubs constantly like that, those are the same people that are promiscuous. They don't want to settle down. Like, it does go with a lifestyle. It does. I know one girl, she's not necessarily a bad person, but she's an alcoholic. So, and she doesn't want to do anything but that. That's all she cares about. And she's like in her 40s and she's not slowing down. But that's not gonna work for me. A person that's always partying, or most men, they don't want a party girl. But for me, I don't want a party guy. How about, that's just me. I feel like you need a balance with anything. There was a guy who wanted to talk to me from Facebook, and I think I talked about this in a previous video. A lot of things he was saying was a turn off, and I cut him off before we even met. And one thing that was a turn off is he was in church too much. Like, it's nothing wrong with going to church, and I'm not saying that. But when you're in church to the point of you're not visiting your mother in the hospital because you have to go to church the next day. You're canceling dinner dates because of church. You're canceling your life. Like, you have no social life because of church. That's not good. You need a balance. You need some type of outlet. I know one lady that she actually, because of church, she didn't go to school. Like, she went to school online for her whole 4 years because of church. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, you're paying like, school is expensive. Even if you're not paying for it, somebody's paying for it. Like, financial aid, that's tax money, whatever. But and I feel bad for her because it's like, you didn't have the college experience because of church. Like, that doesn't make sense. It wasn't because of her kids, because her kids weren't even that little. But she's in church 3-4 days a week, so that soaks up a lot of time. So the only time she had was to go to school online. And I'm like, that's a shame. Like, you should have been, at least your senior year, go up for one person in class, one class that's in person or something. But, too much of anything is no good. Too much of anything is no good. If you work too much, some people, they work 60 hours a week, not because of bills, but just because they can. That's, you have to have time for yourself, and I can't stress that enough. But yes, with divorce, back to that, I know I went off in a tangent, but with divorce, it wasn't until the 19th century when the ball started rolling, with things where women could inherit property. So a lot of this, goes way back when. It's not nothing new. My laptop is messing up. I'm gonna take a pause. Okay, so my laptop don't work, but my son got an iPad, and here we go. So the first oldest known history of divorce was traced back to 1760 BC. So that's a long time ago. So that's interesting to know because, we have this notion where divorce didn't exist. No, it always existed. So that's kind of good. So there was, according to this, there was a time when it was illegal to get divorced in America. So just like it was illegal for women to get contraception, America once upon a time, America was like a third world country, in my opinion. Like, I still can't wrap my head around that women couldn't get contraception in America 100 years ago, even though 100 years ago is a long time. But still, America though, wow, and abortion wasn't legal until 1973. 1973 is not that long ago. And we have never had a female president. So it really tells you what kind of country we really living in. This is a misogynist country, y'all, that I'm looking at this now, and it was illegal. Now, 1760 BC, they was having divorce in other parts of the world. But America, which was a very young country, it just was established in the 1700s, mind you, but it was illegal for women. It's crazy. So this says here, in the United States, women were able to divorce their husbands on the same terms as men in 1937. So before 1937, you could not get a divorce from your husband in America. That's crazy. And I read somewhere else a few months ago that it wasn't even legal until 1910. So it's a lot of technicalities with that, It's really crazy. Anne Clark was granted the first recorded legal divorce in the American colonies in 1643. In 1848, they came up with the Married Women's Property Acts, made it easier for women to claim property and other marital assets, right? So back then, you could get married, get divorced, and not get anything, similar to now. Now, if you're, I don't know if I put this in a video, but my archbishop from my elementary school, when he passed away, his wife got nothing. So you know how I'm guilty of saying, oh, when you're the wife, you get this, you get that. No. If your husband does not put your name on the deed of that house, you will get nothing. You will get nothing. So it's like you what are you getting out of it type stuff, So yeah, sometimes in some cases marriage is not what it's hyped up to be. Sometimes it's better to just stay single, because you get married to some of these men and it's like, what is the sole purpose? Are we in love? Or do you just want a trophy wife? Or do you really love me? Because I feel like if a man really loves a woman, he gonna make sure she good after he's dead. If you're a multi-millionaire, right, there's no reason that when you die, your wife ends up homeless. Like, that's just some wicked stuff. Like, that's crazy to me, The Matrimonial Clauses Act allowed women to petition for divorce on the same terms as men, 1937. In 1969, California passed the first no-fault divorce law, which allowed divorce by mutual consent, 1969. And in 2010, no-fault divorce became legal in every state in the District of Columbia. Women have fought for legal rights, including the right to file for divorce without fault, throughout the middle of the 20th century. So this issue is an American issue, according to this, and maybe other countries. But I wanted to talk about that because it just shows the control of men again. Because if I'm a woman and I'm unhappy in my relationship or my marriage, I should be able to go. There shouldn't be some pastor saying, no, you can't divorce him. There shouldn't be anything to stop me. I want to get divorced. I don't want to be in this marriage. What is there to discuss? Okay? And for people to, right now in 2025, they try to throw darts at you if you don't want to be with your child's father. It's all about control, folks, when you really sit down and think about it. If a man is not working, he's running the streets, he has a record, and he has all these things wrong with him, and that woman does not want to be with him, people will still look at that woman and say, well, why you don't want to make it work? Why should she want to make it work with a man who don't work, first of all? And he has felonies and he has a record. He doesn't want to work. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And we have to stop questioning women. Let's stop judging women. Let women live their life the way they see fit. And we will be a much better society, I swear to God. Let's stop doing it to each other. I know I'm guilty of it. Somebody has 4 kids. They don't want to get married. That's their business. That's none of yours. Okay? Maybe she sees something in him. You, from the exterior, you think he a good guy. You don't live with him. She does. So there's a reason why women don't want to be with their children's father, or they don't want to be married to a man. There's a reason for that. Mind your business. Mind your business. Just because they have 2 kids together and they live together, that doesn't make him husband material. He might be a good father, but maybe he's not a good partner. She doesn't want to sit there and explain that to you. And we as women, we have to stop shaming other women. And we're all guilty of it. Oh, you don't want no more kids? You don't want to get married? She doesn't want to get married. Everybody does not want to get married. Me personally, yes. I see, even though I grew up in a crazy household, that's them. I know to be better than that. I know to pick a man that I actually like. I'm not going to pick a man just to escape something. And a lot of women do that. They live in their mother's house. A man proposes to them, and so that's their ticket out the house. No. For me, I'm going to get with somebody who not only that I love, but that's going to treat me right, that has manners, that has goals, that has a good credit score, is a lot. I'm not just going to marry anybody. I don't just get with anybody. I don't just date anybody. And that's my right as a woman, right? And we have to encourage each other to make good decisions. You don't just make a decision because, oh, well, he's nice to me, so I'm going to marry him. No, how do you feel? Do you really love him? Do you really want to be with him? Because one thing I know about women, we have something called women intuition. And when a woman don't want to be with a man, trust and believe it's for a damn good reason. So let's not encourage each other to be with somebody that they don't want to be with. She don't love him. You don't know him. You're looking at the exterior. Oh, he a good guy. You don't know what she has to put up with when they're home, So that's so important. To us as women have to encourage each other to do what you want to do. Don't conform to societal norms if that's not what you really want. You have women who want to have children. They don't want to get married. That's their choice. Jennifer Hudson is pregnant right now. Everybody's judging her. Listen, that's her right and that's her choice. You don't know what she's been through. You don't know what's going on in her relationship. You're just looking at it like, oh, well, Common is a good guy. We don't know that, right? There's a reason she was smart to not marry David Ortega. Because, look, they're not together now. And she said it. She was like, I'd rather be in a long-term relationship, never get married and break up, than to get married and get divorced. Now, if they would have got married, they would have got divorced. They was engaged for 9 years, and she was smart because she felt it as a woman. And at first, I was like everybody else, like, damn, 9 years, they still not married. But she was smart because what happened? He ended up leaving her. Look at that. Now she's with Common. If she doesn't want to get married, that's her business. That's her right. Mind your business. Like Scrap was said, business. Ain't none of your business, chief. Who has the highest divorce rate? Maldives has the highest divorce rate. Women initiate divorce more than men. Yeah, I would say so. We also initiate breakup because, first of all, it takes, especially a black woman. I'm not just saying that because I'm a black woman. But it's in our culture, it's hard enough to get the ring. A lot of black men don't want to get married because a lot of black men come from single parent households. Their grandma was single, their great grandma. It's a whole lineage of single moms. So they don't see the advantages of marriage. For me, I want marriage because my whole lineage is married. Even though people were unhappy, I feel like how I view marriage, I see it as a partnership. The person could help me be a better person and vice versa. I feel like it's a best friend. It's somebody Everybody has their own lives. Your children even have their own lives. So I see it as a marriage. A husband is like somebody you grow old with, and that's a partner in your life. You know, somebody to grow old with, simply. You know, everybody, your siblings, your cousins, everybody has their own life, but your mate, your spouse is someone that he gonna be there to, you know, to the end, you know. But yes, women, a man is different from a woman. So a man, he could be unhappy, but he's not gonna break up. Even with sexual affairs, most men, you know, they're not gonna say, hey, we can't keep having sex or we can't keep doing this. It's usually us women that have to click and be like, this is wrong. Because most men, and I heard this on YouTube from a content creator, Stefan Speaks, most men don't want to hurt a girl's feelings, or most men don't know how to articulate. You have a few men that will break up an affair, relationship, or whatever, but a lot of men don't know how to do that, and they don't want to do it. So you as a woman have to come to your senses and end it. So yes, I would agree that women initiate the divorce, but it takes a lot for a woman to do that. People just don't file for divorce. It's, you give the person a chance, you see it's not going nowhere, and then you say, you know what, I deserve better, you know. And also college educated women. I wouldn't just say college educated women, but just educated women in general. Even if you just have a high school diploma, if you are independent, I would say working women initiate it, because once you make your own money and you have confidence in yourself, you know that you don't need a man. You want a man, and that's the difference. You want a man to be romantic. You want a man to sexually please you. Those are things that you can't do for yourself, unless if you use toys or something, you know. But when it comes to you know, certain things like that, only a man could do, right? So those are all wants. Those are not needs. As far as food, clothing, and shelter, we could do that for ourselves. So why would I, you know, stay in a relationship for that when I can do it for myself? You know, we want romance. A normal woman wants romance. A normal woman wants gifts. You know, and if you're not doing that, what do I need you for? Right? So, you know, then they have a whole list of people who that have the highest divorce rates. Bartenders. I didn't even know they got married, but I guess so. Flight attendant. That's what I was saying earlier. So a man that's in the bars and clubs every night, that's not gonna work with me. Like, that's like, we're in our 30s, especially, even in 20s, but we're in our 30s. So I would want to dig deep. Like, but why do you feel like you need to be in a party all the time? You know. So bartenders are number one. Flight attendants, gaming service workers, rolling machine setters, operators and tenders, switchboard operators, telemarketers, yeah. It says women suffer the most after divorce. And in 2025, people still look down on it. Just recently on YouTube, I think it was like a week or two ago, might have been a month ago, but a comedian was like, hey, I just got divorced, and people clap for her. Yeah, because most people who get divorced, it was a toxic relationship. So if somebody tells me they got divorced, I'm happy for you, because it means you just got out of a toxic relationship. You're not going to divorce someone for no reason, right? So the people in the comment section, it was very interesting, because the people in the comment section was like, oh, society is so twisted and backwards. Why are they happy she got divorced? And a few of us responded and was like, obviously it's a damn good reason she got divorced. People don't get divorced for no reason. especially black women. So, you know, it's not like, now I'm not saying black women are angels, but we are not known to like marry for money. We might in our 20s get with somebody for money, but once a woman is 30s and 40s, we're getting married for love. We're not getting, it might be a combination, but for the most part, it's a damn good reason. Like women, black women of color don't just do it for no reason, right? Like I said, I love being a black American because we do what we want to do. We don't conform to other cultures and societal norms. So like other cultures like Asians and Muslims and stuff like that, they're forced to get married. Us, no. If we get married, it's our choice. You know, now some people back in the days, they might have had arranged marriages in the South and in certain families, not everybody's family, but the families forced them to get married because somebody was pregnant. That's never good, because guess what? That baby turns into a big child, a teenager, and then an adult. And then what do you have? Nothing. That's never a good reason to get married, because you have kids. Because those kids become adults. You know. But, between 1700 and 1749, and I'm sure this was America, only 13 cases of divorce were reported. But picture yourself in the 1700s, when women had no rights, we were property. You really think that women got married because they wanted to? No. Remember I said in my previous video, 1900, we were still what? We were still property. We were still very much property. Remember that, folks. I'm at 36 minutes. Wow, that's a lot of things I'm talking. Divorces, I guess, is a bigger topic than I thought. But I'm finding a lot of facts, and I just wanted to read it out loud. I was looking for a video, and I didn't really see anything. So I guess I will be like the first person to talk about it. But it's empowering to end something that's toxic. I think that's very empowering for a woman. My great-grandmother on my father's side, he was cheating on her, and she filed for divorce. She didn't, you know, she gave him a chance. He kept making babies everywhere. That's embarrassing. So you know what she did? She packed up her bags and she moved from down south to New York, Brooklyn, Crown Heights, and she got a house. Her son was grown and he was in the army, and she was able to get a house. Good for her. She was not going to stay in a toxic marriage where a man keep putting his sperm everywhere and making babies all everywhere. So she set the trajectory of, no, I'm not going to tolerate this BS. Why should a woman stay married to a man that's making babies everywhere? Why should a woman stay married to a man that gives her STD? And, you know, it's just so many things that go on. It's like, no, a woman shouldn't have to put up with that because she's a woman. No. And there's a lie that's going around saying that, oh, back in the days. Listen, my grandmother had sisters. She was the only one that was married, and her marriage was toxic. They never got divorced, but she had grounds to divorce by the Bible and the world, you know. But I guess she like really lived him, you know. But she had a good example from her mother that she didn't have to deal with that bullshit. But to each their own, you know. Anne Clark was the first woman in America to get a divorce in the American colonies. I think I mentioned that. 1643. Did divorce exist in the 1920s? Yes, it did. So it says here the divorce rate doubled from 1910 to 1920 from 4.5 divorces to 7.7 divorces per 1,000 residents. So that's interesting because that was during the Depression. So that's interesting to know. So in the Bible, like as I stated before, but I just wanted to read it: adultery, emotional or physical neglect. Again, this is misogyny. This is what the man wants. Divorce was permitted if the husband found his wife to be emotionally or physically neglectful. How interesting, right? Bill of divorce. The husband wrote a bill of divorce to his wife, which was drawn up by a legal authority. So again, permitted in the Bible is what the man wanted. Okay. Again, and this confirms my research. Like, it wasn't a woman no, the man had to make that decision to divorce you 9 times out of 10. That's very misogynistic, and people don't really pay attention to certain things, The husband could divorce his wife if he found her to be indecent. The husband had to write the bill of divorce. The wife was free to marry another man after that. The former husband could not remarry the wife after it had been, done with the vow. Also, I wanted to bring out Adam and Eve when they sinned, right? There's a scripture in the Bible that says, now as a woman, now that you have sinned, you have to have pain during childbirth, and the man will now be above you. So because we sinned and we didn't listen to what God said, the punishment was then that man will rule over you, right? But then when you read the scriptures later on, you Genesis and you skip to Deuteronomy, it says, when you don't obey my law, curse with a curse, the women shall have rule over you. And we see that in the black community. Who's running things now? Women, mainly. Who's having the education? Who's raising the children? Women. Is that going to change? I feel like it is changing slowly, because you have to understand, we weren't allowed to be married when we were slaves. And I think that plays a big role in it. We were not allowed to be unified. And then during slavery, they separated the families. I feel like that played a very big role in the black community. So by the 1920s, 30s, the black man can't find a job. That causes depression issues. If a man can't provide for his family, he's going to feel less than a man. And then women were forced to go on welfare oftentimes because you couldn't find a job because you're having all these kids. And then what do you need the man for if you're getting help from the government, right? So all different type of factors. Then you had in the 60s, it was civil rights. They were fighting for jobs. It was hard to get a job in the 60s for some people, because that's what they were marching for jobs, right? Then the 70s, they had layoffs. The 80s was the crack era. So it's like it was very hard for the black family to be together in general. And they said a lot of black families were married, yes. From my research and just talking to friends and family, it seems that the people that got married were the religious, educated people, the people that had decent socioeconomics back then and today. So obviously, if a woman is not working and her husband or a man is not working, they're not going to get married, because it's like, what's the benefit from that, right? Most people today and back then who got married, there was some type of education there. Somebody had a diploma, somebody had a job, somebody had something, and then they got together and got married. That makes sense, right? So, oftentimes when you have a whole family that's not married, or like I think I spoke about it. I know one person who nobody in her family owns a home. But that's socioeconomics, obviously, and nobody is married either. That's coming back to socioeconomics. And it also, religion plays a part. So one thing I noticed is like non-religious black families, they suffer more. Is there a correlation? Maybe. Right? Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say about divorce. If you are under the sound of my voice and you're watching this, and there are avenues and resources for you, don't make nobody feel no way, because nobody can live your life but you. Remember that. And you have one life to live, and when you die, you don't want people to say, oh, she just was so unhappy her whole life. You don't want that legacy. And if for your children, if you have them, you want them to see. One thing my son said, and it made me feel so good. He was like, "You not miserable, you happy," And he's like, and he's home a lot. Like, he's not like how I was as a teenager, and he is excellent at analyzing things. He said, "Yeah, you was never home because your parents was miserable and always arguing." He's like, "You're not miserable. I like coming home." I said, wow. So you want to be that parent where your child likes being home. My son likes being home because it's peaceful here. No drama. And those are my thoughts.